Well, welcome everybody to our Southampton Winter Conference, and I have to say, what a fabulous opening by Joanna. So Joanna, well done. We didn't know we had such artist skills in the team. My name is Mary Darcy, and I'm the Executive Director for Community Culture and Homes within the City Council. And I joined Southampton City Council on lockdown day on the 23rd of March. So unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to meet as many of you face to face as I would like, but it is amazing to be here this evening with so many of you joining us for our first online conference. So just a few housekeeping rules before we kick off with a very packed agenda this evening. So I think as has already been indicated, we are videoing, we're keeping a recording of this conference so that we can share it. So hopefully you are all okay with that. Secondly, everybody will be on mute except those people who are speaking. But if you'd like to put any questions in the chat, those can be answered later on in the session. Finally, at the end of the conference, we will be taking a very, very short and quick snappy poll of your views of the conference. So please don't leave before you've had a chance to do that. We have got a really, really good agenda that really covers both the issues for you as our tenants, but also really importantly, some of the wider matters that are going on in the council for you as residents within Southampton. And I'm going to hand over now to our cabinet member, Councillor Satvir Kaur, who's going to introduce herself and say a few words to open the conference. So handing over to Satvir, thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, everyone. I've been fortunate enough to meet many of you, so I've seen you. Sorry, we're not in the Novotel having a lovely meal. I'm actually having last night's pasta, which isn't as exciting as being with you guys. I did promise to stick to 3 minutes, so I am going to crack on. Let's just wave or holler if I'm getting carried away like I usually do. I won't cover everything. The main thing I actually wanted to cover was just to say and have the opportunity to say a massive thank you in a year that's been really strange, really challenging for so many of us for so many different, a variety of reasons, where the world has literally stopped. It's people like you within our communities that really kept us going. I've always said that homes are so much more than bricks and mortar. They are about the people that live in them and the sense of community that they create. And at a time during the pandemic, I think it just really highlighted just how important our homes are. Suddenly they transformed into not only a place where we sleep and eat, but a place where we do all our work from, into a classroom where most of our leisure activity was taking place. And I know that it was particularly difficult during lockdown for those living on our estates, in our tower blocks who don't have gardens and limited public shared space. And however difficult and despite the challenges, we did come together. And for me, I really saw the best in people and the best in Southampton. I'm incredibly proud of our staff and the team who continue to go over and beyond and support those that needed it most, and kept the show on the road. But a special thank you to our tenants that checked in on neighbours, Leaside Way Residents Association, just giving a shout out because they particularly did that extremely well through their kind of, I was really impressed with their little kind of colour coded things that you put in the windows, which was really great. Many of you, a massive thank you that bought food and medication for each other. A special thank you to those that helped keep us fit and active and entertained. My personal favourite was Eileen's exercise videos. And thank you to our junior neighbourhood wardens who kept our spaces clean and tidy, and to community groups like the SO18 Big Local, who despite the barriers managed to bring the community together through an art project, and so basically throughout it kind of transformed some really ugly hoardings into a stunning art gallery. So if you live local to Megason Avenue, please go have a look because it's absolutely incredible. Very quickly, as a council and as the cabinet lead, I wanted to reassure everyone that's joined to say that my priorities and promises to you haven't changed. We're still working to ensure that we've got some of the safest homes in the city, and are continuing to do all our fire safety work. We're still investing in play areas and other things to improve our local communities, and we're still focusing on supporting individuals, whether that's through debt support, domestic abuse, skills development, because we know that stronger lives lead to stronger communities. And finally, I'm really pleased to report that this year we signed off on our 1,000 Homes programme, which is on track. So we signed off £144 million worth of investment this year to deliver 1,000 homes by 2025. We've already started work across the city, started work in Town Hall Park on Plot 2 recently, everything from that to extra care homes being completed by spring next year, which is great. All these homes will be 100% affordable, at the moment energy efficient and quality, including things like space standards. We'll be kickstarting a consultation with tenants so that you guys can take part in helping to design what the next generation of council homes are going to be in the city, which is very excited. I'm pretty sure I've probably taken more than 3 minutes, so I am going to stop there. But I know we've got a chance to ask a few questions. I'll put my email in the chat just in case someone wanted to ask me anything later. Finally, I won't get a chance to say this later, but can I just say a massive thank you to the team, particularly Lepsa, for making this all happen. I'm pleased you're doing all your own digital stunts. It's all very exciting, and well done for making it happen. Please enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Core. A really good introduction, and I'd just like to echo everything you said about the commitment and the engagement of our tenants over the period that we've all been enduring, that is COVID. So I'm going to introduce now Ola Onagbaju, our service manager, who is taking the lead on our asset management, and the assets we're talking about here are the buildings. So Ola, over to you.
Hello and good evening, folks. My name is Ola Onagbaju and I'm Southampton City Council's asset manager. I'm here this evening to tell you about the exciting developments that is Southampton City Council's housing asset management strategy. What is that, I hear you ask? Well, an asset management strategy is a tool that the council is planning to use moving forward to determine and plan the way that we manage a housing stock. The aim of the strategy is to make sure that the council manages its housing stock with a value for money attitude. That means that every decision that the council makes in relation to its housing stock needs to take account of added value. It also ensures that the council keeps the health and safety of all its residents at the forefront of its decisions, while balancing this with watching the purse strings. And don't forget also that the council has pledged to build 1,000 homes by 2025. Another factor that the strategy will be looking to set in stone. What does that mean, Ola? I hear you say. Well, plainly speaking, it means that we'll set all of our pledges to paper and you, our residents, can hold us to account. It means that we'll be more proactive with maintenance, we'll carry out more planned refurbishment work, and that will lead to less reactive maintenance. And that means that you spend less time on the telephone reporting repairs to us because we would have already replaced it. It means that we'll be able to fill our homes quicker with more planned works. It means we'll have less reactive void works to do, and we can house people quicker, thereby reducing the housing waiting list. It also means that we'll listen to you more and engage with our residents even more than we currently do now. Southampton City Council would be better placed to capture the needs of the community because you'll tell us what's important to you. Through effective engagement with you and more joined up approach between teams within the council, we'll be building housing that reflects the needs of the community. We'll prioritise the way we invest in our homes based on what you tell us is important to you. We'll also carry out works that target energy efficiency because we know that that translates to reduced energy bills for our residents. On the whole, our long-term planning, investment plans in the housing stock will be based on what residents are telling us. That means that the strategy will support us better to plan financially because we'll look to adopt a spend to save approach. Well, how will that happen? Well, that will happen by prioritising health and safety works, making sure that we reduce reactive works, because we know that translates to reduced cost. We'll increase proactive work because it translates to increased savings. And by talking to you, it means that we're spending money in the right place because we will only spend on what you need and on what you want. And with all of that, it means that the strategy will allow us to put in place adapting capabilities to the inevitable changes that are on the horizon. So, for instance, we're expecting the new fire safety bill, and we have a duty to implement all of the changes that come out of that bill. We've already had the new social housing white paper that will encourage social housing landlords to engage more effectively with residents and in a more meaningful manner. We have the fallout from COVID and the changes that has created to societies across the world, and we need to ensure that we're able to adapt to those changes. And we all know that the future is renewables, and we need to adjust to the effects of climate change too. I hope you'll agree that this is pretty exciting stuff, and I look forward to questions from you later on. Thank you for listening.
So we seem to have a bit of a problem with the video, so I'm going to jump in there and say thank you very much, Ola. Ola is here with us this evening, so if anybody has any questions for Ola, please.
Hello, my name is Sally White and I'm a Community Engagement Officer from Southampton City Council Stronger Communities team, and I'm here to talk to you about the COVID-19 Community Champions. So Southampton City Council are looking for volunteers to be COVID-19 community champions. Champions will be the first to receive the latest updates and guidance from our public health team about how to stay safe during this coronavirus pandemic, and share this information onwards with their friends, families, communities and workplaces. Our network of champions is a way to help people in Southampton get clear information on how to stay safe and reduce the risk of getting and spreading the infection, and what additional support might be available to help do this. Community champions can be anyone living, working or studying in Southampton, and anyone who wants to keep up to date with the latest advice and guidance about COVID-19. COVID-19 community champions are so important as they'll be able to use the advice given to them via us with their networks, but likewise they're able to share information with each other during briefings and in Facebook groups, and they're also able to share information back with the council to help us learn and adjust things to keep people safe. So as a champion, who might you talk to? You might become a champion just to have the information for yourself and your household and to keep you safe. You might want to talk to your friends and family. You might want to share messages onwards using social media, and you might want to share the advice with classmates, colleagues, or members of your community groups that you attend or work for. So we will keep you informed in a variety of methods. We'll do this during weekly Zoom briefings, weekly email bulletin. We have a closed Facebook group. We have a dedicated email address, we have weekly Zoom drop-ins, and we have WhatsApp broadcasts. If this is something that you would be interested in, you can log on and register at southampton.gov.uk/community champions. If there's any questions you have regarding the community champions, you can do that you can get in touch by emailing our dedicated email address, which is community.champions@southampton.gov.uk. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching up Southampton CC. It's really important at this point that I make everyone aware as well. By becoming a champion, we aren't asking you to do anything in addition to what you're already doing. We don't ask you to go out of your way to share the information. We would just ask that you share the information with your existing networks. And as mentioned, that might just be friends and family or information for yourself, but you might also want to be signing up on behalf of a workplace or a voluntary organisation to be able to disseminate that information onwards. I'm now going to hand over to Ray and Vicky, who are residents but also members of the Community Champion Network.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to this conference. Just to let you know who we are, my name's Vicky and I am chair of the Leaside Way Tenants and Residents Association, and my colleague Ray is the secretary. We've been chair and secretary for 3 years now, and we were asked, why would we become champions? So for me, and I think for Ray, it was to be as up to date as possible with accurate information about COVID-19 and to inform family and friends and the residents that we represent. Ray.
Yeah, I think one reason people want to join is to do their bit, in the old-fashioned saying, to do your bit for the local community. And it's very rewarding. You can share good information with friends, neighbours, other forums and organisations that you belong to, which is what I do. And we try always to avoid the misinformation that can be sometimes found in the press. So we feel with the COVID champions, you get good information, timely information, which you can share with other people. And the benefit for other people, and I would recommend anybody to join as a COVID champion, it's very good for your own health and well-being to help other people and help them have information to make the right choices.
A particular thanks there to Ray and Vicky, who are two of our community champions. And if anybody wants to sign up to be a community champion, please do get in touch. The team would love to have you on board. So I'm going to hand over now to Claire Whitaker, who is our City of Culture Bid Director. If you don't know, but already you will do by the end of this presentation, that we are bidding to be the City of Culture in 2025, and we're planning to win. So over to Claire.
Well, good evening, everyone, and it's fantastic to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak. Yes, my name's Claire Whitaker, and I'm your bid director, and I was brought in to lead Southampton's drive to become UK City of Culture in 2025. I was appointed in January this year, but started full-time in May. I've obviously been doing the role in the context of COVID-19, but I've managed to meet many people in the city, but very unfortunately, I can't be with you in person tonight, but I hope that I get to meet you along this journey. In terms of my background, I've spent 30 years in roles within culture and wider society, running my own events and music organisation for much of that time. And over the years, I've been involved in many of our national moments, including the Manchester Commonwealth Games, the Queen's Golden Jubilee, the London 2012 Olympics, Hull and Coventry's UK City of Culture programmes, and the opening ceremony for Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Buckingham Palace. As well as working across the UK, I've got experience of working internationally in Europe, West and Southern Africa, the Caribbean and North America. My role as bid director for Southampton brings together all my previous experience in a way that culture can really bring together communities and enable prosperity and profile for a city, and really bring benefits to its residents. But what is UK City of Culture? It's a designation given to a city in the UK for a period of 1 year. The aim is to give other cities the opportunity to experience similar success to Liverpool, which was European Capital of Culture in 2008. The competition is administered by the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport and has a panel of independent judges. The designation of UK City of Culture brings tangible economic, cultural and social benefits leading up to, during and beyond the year the city holds the status. So, for example, when Liverpool was European Capital of Culture, they generated over £753 million of economic impact, and Hull saw its visitor numbers double and sell out crowds. Next slide, please. This is a film that we've made to tell you a little bit more about Southampton.
To me, Southampton's like a treasure chest with so many stories.
And the good thing about Southampton is it's a welcoming city. It's part of you. you'll always find a space for you.
Yeah, this is definitely a place I want to stay in at. And plus, it's like part of my heritage as well. It's like where I want to be.
It's where people will feel wanted and belong.
As a writer and an artist, I started doing work that I'd never done before in Southampton. The way in which the city rebuilt itself, you've got like the ancient walls right next to modern buildings, and it's sort of a symbol of the way in which it's this kind of patchwork of different types of stories and different types of communities. And I'm really grateful for that because it means that everybody has a place, and I found my place here.
There is a love for the music within the city.
Bands want to play where they're going to have the best shows. Southampton has a massive music community.
With everyone working together as a city and united as one, I feel like Southampton really can be on the map and inspire other people to do the same.
They want to know where I come from. I told them I come from the US.
Southampton's always on the cusp of understanding if a band's going to be big, it will be like a sold-out show. Just one of those things, isn't it?
No handout, so I had to take it. Late nights, no sleep on a daily basis. Told my mum I can't stop now, I gotta make it. I'm from the same city as Craig David.
We all have flashbacks in our lives. I'm sitting there in command of the world's biggest ocean liner. I can just remember myself sitting on the stones on the beach off Western Shore there, just watching the Queen Mary or the Queen Elizabeth sailing in. I would never have imagined that I'd actually be in command of one of those ships and taking the ship myself into the port of Southampton.
What is it that we can give to people? What is it that Southampton can give to us? And what is it that we can give back to the community? It's about living, and we are living our dream. And that's happening right now. Yeah, so we want the whole world to know what's happening here in Southampton.
So that was a film that was made by a local artist, Aston Holmes Elliott, and it was really Aston's view of the city. I could see lots of people smiling as that video was playing, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and thank you to Aston for such a great promotion of our bid. And what timeline are we working to? Well, we're waiting for the guidelines, but this is what we're working to at the moment. We have to register our bid in February. We have to then put our final bid in September, and there's lots of toing and froing and asking of questions in between. The judges visit the shortlisted cities, of which we very much hope we will be one, in October 2021. There's a big presentation in November 2021, and the announcement of the winning city is in December. So that's what we're working to. If it moves, it will only be about 3 months. So there is lots and lots of work to do in order to get the best possible bid in place, because it is a competition, and that competition comes from Bradford, Medway, Lancashire and Gloucester, who've all declared that they will be bidding for the 2025 bid. In terms of our consultation, so we've been in a process where we've been trying to talk to the whole city in the middle of a global pandemic. So we've had to do it virtually, but we've been really trying to make sure that we include as many people as possible in the consultation. So our bid needs to be really informed by the people of Southampton, the communities in Southampton, because it's for the communities of Southampton. And the themes and content for the bid will be developed through the findings of this consultation. The University of Southampton is leading the research and evaluation of the consultation process. And we're really trying to engage the city's diverse community to ensure that all voices are heard. A public survey was launched on the 7th of October, and at the end of my slide, you'll see the link to that. And if you could take the survey, we'd be very, very grateful. And we had a whole series of focus groups which were developed for all elements of the cultural landscape, and that includes creative industries, education and schools, sport, heritage, performing arts, visual arts, music, community, literature, events and place, volunteering, regional group, Pulse Group, which is all the arts organisations in the city, and the Chaos Network, which is for artists. After that formal consultation, we're then going to have a whole new level of consultation, which is a multi-format consultation with groups whose voices may not otherwise be heard. And stage one of this process is going to take place from now until the middle of January. And many of the communities have different characteristics, so need to be consulted in different ways. And we're trying to make sure that we adapt our methods so that everybody, whether they're digitally literate or not, can be heard. We're trying to have a real exchange of ideas and opportunities, and we're trying to understand what the needs of our city are and how that can be answered through a cultural lens. Our identified focus areas are for young people, for artists and performers, BAME community groups, LGBTQI+, and groups that have English as a second language, especially Romanian and Polish communities. So what would winning UK City of Culture do? Well, it would really help us recover from COVID-19. It would put Southampton and the wider region on the map, nationally and internationally. It would create real global impact, economic impact, and a global competitive advantage, which attracts investment into the area. It would raise aspirations and skills in our workforce. It would lead to the establishment of new businesses and help people stay in the city, retain talent, and have quality jobs. We're going to have a really robust tourism, culture, and heritage strategy, which profiles Southampton as a competitive destination to visit, work, and live. And we really want to create a sense of civic pride, a really strong sense of place and of identity and well-being and community connections, and to place cultural regeneration at the heart of the city. So how can you get involved? Yes, you can take our public survey, you can look at our website, and you can sign up to our newsletter, which I really hope you will. All our social media links are there, and I'm very, very happy to take any questions. So all that's left to say now is a huge thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy to answer your questions at an appropriate moment.
Claire, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. And I just want to echo the words at the end of that video. We want the whole world to know what is happening here in Southampton, and that's exactly what our City of Culture bid is all about. So Claire is going to be staying with us. So if you do have any questions, please do pop them in the chat for a bit later on. So we're going to hand over now to, it's perhaps not quite such an exciting subject as the Southampton City of Culture bid 2025, but it's very important to absolutely everybody in this room, which is our budget for the next year. And we've got Paul Ring, who is our finance business partner, who's going to take us through the rent changes and the budget for the next year. So over to you, Paul.
Hello, welcome to the Housing Revenue Account Rent Changes and Housing Budget Slides presentation. My name is Paul Ring. I'm the Finance Business Partner for the Housing Revenue Account. So first of all, what is the Housing Revenue Account? The Housing Revenue Account is a ring-fenced account that takes tenants' rents as service charges and then are kept separate from other council finances. It is governed by legislation, Schedule 4 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. It does not pay for council-wide services, for example, basic waste collection and social care. It does pay for landlord responsibilities, for example, repairs and maintenance. The aim of this is to ensure that council housing tenants do not pay twice for council services. Over the next 5 years, there will be 1,000 homes to be delivered. This was approved by Council in July 2020. 274 are already being delivered or under construction. The remaining 726 properties was given the approval in July 2020, adding up to 144 million. The new properties will have a mixture of tenures, including rented and shared ownership properties. They will also be of different sizes and a mix of housing and flats. The 1,000 homes is part funded by Right to Buy recipients. Rent and service charges for 2001-22 will have rents increasing by an average of 1.33% from £85.67 to £86.81. Although the majority of rents will rise by 1.5% as per government guidelines of inflation plus 1%, those properties who are currently paying more than the formula rent will only rise by 0.5%. This will continue until all tenants are paying formula rent or lower. This is per recent rent standard government updates. You can see here on this slide the following service charges that will increase by 1.5%. You'll notice some smaller service charges which will not increase by 1.5% due to their very small size. The charge of digital TV connection will be reducing from 43 pence to 12 pence, as the original purchase price has now been paid off and only the annual maintenance costs will now be charged. For landlord-controlled heating charges for 21-22, there will be an increase to reflect recent energy price rises from our suppliers. The increase is expected to be 2.5%. Long-term energy price forecasting is subject to fluctuation and based on the wider economy. This is hard to do. We have based our increase based on expected longer-term trends, but is obviously subject to longer-term fluctuations. That is the end of the presentation for the finance slides. Many thanks for listening.
So thank you to Paul for bringing that to everyone's attention this evening. Paul is also here with us this evening, so if you have any particular questions about the fact that we are proposing increasing the rents by 1.33%, some of the service charges and obviously some of the fuel charges will also be going up, but some of the other charges, such as those relate to our digital services, are going down. So as you can see, some go up, some go down, but please do pose your questions in the chat for Paul later. So we're going to move on now to go back to our COVID view of the world, and Linda has very much, I'm really looking forward to hearing from Linda this evening. Linda has been a shining light during lockdown, and it's over to you, Linda, to talk to us about your view of how life has been during lockdown.
Hello all. Who's me? Well, my view of lockdown was probably the same as other people's, a weird experience. Initially, I felt alarmed at an enemy like the virus that couldn't be seen, so it couldn't be fought off. My battle instincts came to the fore, but couldn't be used. What I did was, first of all, I taped large artificial flowers to my balcony with their heads pointing outwards. It was a small act of defiance against a grey-looking world, but it sure lifted my spirits. I live alone and had to shield, and I was frustrated at not being able to be of any practical help in the community. I'm a member of the charity Communicare, so I volunteered as a telephone befriender to the isolated and lonely, which made me feel useful, and that's kept on till today. I decided to make use of lockdown to catch up with loose ends in my voluntary work. There were many of those. That kept me happy and busy for a while. And I also treated lockdown as a watershed to sort out some of my life's priorities. I felt relief when Tenant Engagement and other groups I'm a member of organised the Zoom meetings. What a relief. That contact kept up the momentum. As soon as I heard about Zoom, I downloaded it so that I could keep up with the community and keep a pace of circumstances. The most difficult aspect was staying in, like a lot of us. I was used to going out and about daily, and I realised that I would have to combat cabin fever. I live on the 3rd floor of an 8-storey tower block and have a small balcony. There's also a landing outside of the front door. I tricked my brain into thinking I was going out properly by taking the keys, going out of the door, locking up, then walking round and round in circles on the landing. When I went back indoors, I would visit the bathroom and have a coffee as usual, as if I'd been out properly. This also gave me much needed exercise. I also sat on the balcony a couple of times a day, because you remember it was lovely weather, visualising the Southampton parks and memorials, which I love, and I visited them in my imagination. I've never been able to walk far due to a birth disability, but on those occasions I walked miles in my mind, and it was marvellous. These activities successfully helped me deceive my brain into thinking that I wasn't locked in. That was the whole point of it. Good job I have a simple brain. I kept in close touch daily with family and friends and emailed agencies in my voluntary work to keep up the continuity of contact. The agencies were all particularly good with keeping in touch. I was really grateful for that. My 3 neighbours on the landing and I would meet every Monday at 5 o'clock and chat for a couple of hours from the safety of our own doors, and that helped a lot. I must admit that I'm looking forward to physical meetings again so that I can talk to others, which is obviously limited on Zoom. But that was my experience, so thank you for listening and keep safe.
Linda, I have to say you're an inspiration to all of us, and your sentence, "The small act of defiance in a brave new world," is one that I'm going to steal, if you don't mind. I think that's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and your view of lockdown with us. We really appreciate you being here tonight. So we're going to move on to something that's quite active. So I'm going to hand us over now to Zoe Logic, who are going to talk to us and show us a video. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Zoe Golding, Artistic Director of Zoologic Dance Theatre, based here in Southampton. Zoologic Dance Theatre was set up to challenge the perceptions of dance, who it's for, where and how it's presented. We create bold, risky, exciting shows and projects to engage people and tell stories about who we are through dance. We put people at the heart of what we do. We make shows, events and projects with communities and with people to really tell their stories. So I'm a Southampton girl born and bred, a very proud Sutonian, and we at Zoologic were very fortunate to get some long-term funding through Arts Council England. So what this meant was my ambition to be able to make long-term change and really commit to communities and projects that we do could happen now. So I work in Holyrood. Why Holyrood? My best friend grew up there. I spent a lot of time there as a kid, and one thing that struck me constantly was this sense of community and this sense of being safe yet free and actually belonging. So far in Holyrood, we have done some awesome things. We presented a show called Sleuth, which is our detective show. We raised the funds to ensure that that show was free for 50 of the community, and it was just awesome. All ages, all backgrounds, people who'd never seen dance before rocked up and were fully engaged in that experience. We presented Ride, our outdoor show on a spinning tipping Ford Orion. So we popped it on the estate, and we were there for 2 days, and again we met new community members. There was a real sense of acceptance, and there was a real sense of they wanted this event to be there. So what's next? We are Holyrood. We are committing initially to a 2-year project that is about shining a light on the community, listening to their stories and bring them to life with them. We've already started with some amazing workshops with young people from the community in dance and film and photography. In February, we're going to be making a film with the community, all supported by local ambassadors who are now meeting weekly to devise this film and really get under the story that we're going to tell. So we're generously funded by Southampton City Council through the Mayflower 400 project, and this is supporting the film part of the We Are Holyrood project that's happening in February. But it's also enabling us to go and reach communities for the first time in Western Shore and start to develop relationships over there. The first project we're going to take to them is the Grid Experience. So the Grid Experience was our response to the struggles of not being able to connect during COVID. And in August this year, we invited 64 people to come stand in our amazingly designed grid in Guildhall Square and take part in a shared experience. They learnt the routines online with us and then came together just for that moment. And this was really cool because there were people in there that had never danced before, never got involved in any cultural activity before. A link back to Holyrood, 4 young people from the estate were involved, which was amazing. We're currently adapting the Grid Experience and designing a new grid that embeds itself in the landscape that is over there, which is really amazing. So between the towers and the shoreline. And in the new year, we're going to be asking people if they would like to become part of this participatory experience, which will be shared and presented and enjoyed by the community at the end of March. So we're already working with some of you, hopefully watching today. But if you would like to know more about Holyrood and become part of that journey for a community cultural takeover, get in touch. For Western Shore, if you have contacts, think of people that might be interested, want to be part in helping us shout about that opportunity over there, then please do, again, get in contact. You can do this via the website, zoologic.co.uk. There's loads of contact details on there and loads of exciting things for you to venture around to find out more about what we do. Thank you very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that we can do it again in person one day.
Thank you so much. Really exciting opportunities. I love the community cultural takeover element. Get behind it, folks. So we're on to our last presentation of the evening. So this is Helen from our Tenancy, our district housing team. And Helen is going to talk to us about tenancy fraud. So over to you, Helen.
Hello and good evening, and it's really nice to be at this year's winter conference with tenants and leaseholders. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Helen Profit and I'm one of the district housing managers working across the city. I manage the central district area of the city, and I also manage the leasehold and right to buy team, and I've just currently taken on the 2 newly appointed tenancy fraud officers. And that is why I'm here tonight, just to give you an update on what we're doing in housing in tackling tenancy fraud and how you as residents can work with us. I'm going to start off by showing you a short video which lasted just over 3 minutes. The video was produced by the Hampshire Tenancy District Forum last year, and it just gives a really good overview of tenancy fraud and some of the areas we'll be tackling. So if you just sit and watch the video for a short moment of time. Thank you.
It is estimated that almost 50,000 homes are currently being lived in illegally. That's 1 in every 100 housing association and council homes across England. Yet the need for social housing is at an all-time high, with 1.5 million people currently on the waiting list for an affordable home. People living in homes fraudulently means that those in need can't get the homes they deserve and so desperately need.
Temporary accommodation for homeless families costs councils around £18,000 per family per year. This means tenancy fraud is contributing to nearly £1 billion worth of public spending every year. Not only this, but now more than ever, it's so important to have accurate records of who lives in a property, apartment or block of flats. If a disaster such as a fire ever did occur in a fraudulent let property, there would be no way of knowing who has been living there and who is in need of help.
Tenancy fraud is both illegal and unlawful. If we found that a tenant has sublet the whole of their property, we will make a referral to the local authority, who have powers to prosecute the tenant under the Prevention from Social Housing Fraud Act. In one recent case in Camden, the local authority prosecuted and they recovered a fine of £10,000 and legal costs of £16,000. So from a financial point of view, it can be very costly to a tenant. In addition, we will seek possession of the property, and we have done in a number of cases. If the tenant has sublet the whole of the property, we will also be seeking something called an unlawful profit order, which means that they have to pay back the profit to us. Again, can be many thousands of pounds and thousands of pounds in legal costs. And it's really important to note that if you've sublet the whole of your property, and even if you move back in, you've lost your tenancy forever. You can't regain the status as a tenant, and the courts will automatically grant a possession order in that event. So it's really important to note that.
Forms of tenancy fraud include unlawful subletting, which is when a tenant rents out their home without our permission or knowledge. If a tenant abandons their home and fails to tell us that they're not returning to the property, they can still be prosecuted for tenancy fraud. This is classed as abandonment. We often find tenants who have given their keys to a neighbour rather than returning them to their housing association or local authority. It's important to understand that doing this is still classed as abandonment, and the tenant leaving the keys behind can still be prosecuted.
If a tenant dies and a friend or family member then decides to live in the property or succeed the tenancy despite not being entitled to do so, they are committing tenancy fraud. This type of fraud is classified as wrongly claimed succession. Other forms of tenancy fraud include false right to buy or right to acquire, which is when a tenant makes a right to buy or right to acquire application and gives false information to try to secure a home. Obtaining housing by deception involves using false information to gain a social housing property. For example, not telling the landlord that they are renting another council or housing association property, or giving false information about who lives with them. Key selling is when a tenant sells their keys to someone for a lump sum payment rather than handing them in as they should.
Okay, welcome back, and thank you for watching the video, and I hope that video gives you a really good overview to what tenancy fraud is and some of the areas that we will be investigating. You'll see from the video that tenancy fraud is illegal, it's unlawful, and it's immoral, and it also denies those people who are in genuine need of social housing access to it. So can you as residents help us to tackle this issue of fraud across the city? Well, if you have any suspicions, then please report it to us. And you can do this either via the local housing office, or you can do it at the above email address, which is behind me now, and that is tenancyfraud@southampton.gov.uk. And we really do want your help in tackling this the issue of tenancy fraud across Southampton, and together we can stop it. Thanks for listening and watching the video.
So thank you very much, Helen, and thank you very much for the video. So we're now at the point of the evening where if you have any questions for any of our speakers or for Councillor Core, who is here, so please do pop them in the chat, and we will take, and lecturer, I believe, is going to be reading out the questions.
Yes. Yes, we haven't had many questions, Mary, but one of the questions we can ask is how are repairs responses times going to improve? And Mary, Ola can help.
Sorry, could you ask the question again, if you don't mind?
So Ola, the question is, how are repair response times likely to improve as we implement our asset management strategy?
Well, what we're planning to do is to take a baseline and improve them on a phased basis. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen overnight, but I can assure you that as we improve in terms of the way that we plan and the way that we replace components, there will be an evident change in repairs that we don't have to do, as opposed to you ringing us up all the time. And we also will report those changes in terms of the KPIs, the key performance indicator reports that we publish. So that will be your first piece of evidence to hold us to account. So I would say that give us time in the first instance for us to begin to improve, but we will publish key performance indicators that will evidence the way that we perform.
Lexa, just to add to that quickly, responsive repairs have drastically increased or improved recently as well, because we've got a lot better at diagnosing what actually needs doing with that repair early doors. So when you do call up, or you do figure out what's wrong, we're better able to assess what's actually needed. So rather than sending an electrician when you need a plumber, that's been sorted out beforehand, which was causing a massive issue We're also ensuring that a lot more people are in and kind of slotting in particular times, because what we were struggling with early doors was that we'd have people come to properties to deal with repairs, but someone wasn't in, or the timings were off, or we said we were coming and we weren't. So things are already happening, and part of OLA's kind of asset management will help with the medium long term, but short term things have been put in place in the process to improve responsive repairs.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. That's really helpful.
I just wanted to pick up on that point as well in terms of. Sorry, I'll keep quiet.
So we can't hear it from Mary, but we can ask another question. This question is for Paul. Can you, Paul, please explain this rent formula?
Okay, so hopefully everyone can hear me. The rent formula is a national rent policy that was set by government many years ago, over 20 years ago, and it enables the council to have a transparent and fair set of their rent. So it's set on the same basis for all local authority social housing. Okay, so the formula takes into account things like local average rents, county earnings, bedroom ratings, and relative property value of that property. It's a very long formula. Some might say potentially outdated, as it's a 20-year-old formula, but that's basically the way that we do it. All councils use that method and use that process. And going back, there was a long period that tenants may remember of a rent convergence process as well. So councils around the country had different rents all set, and they all applied this formula and they all worked towards it.
Thank you very much, Paul. We've had a couple of questions in the chat that relate to the 1,000 Homes project. I wonder, Councillor Kaur, if you'd be willing to respond to those. So we've got one question, whether or not there's plans for any more homes after the 2025 target, and another about where the homes are going to be built, because Southampton doesn't have much by the way of space. That's from Jerry.
Yeah, so I saw Jerry. Sorry, Jerry, that was my poor attempt to try and answer it through the chat. So we can't share all the places that we've planned due to legal reasons, I've been told by the team. But I mean, some of them are really obvious because we've already started work. So largely it will be council land that we've allocated, whether that's kind of through regeneration work where we've already got council homes, or land that we're redoing changing the purpose of. So the Oaklands, it was the old school site. For example, Potter's Court is obviously that corner of Millbrook and Redbridge. So we're kind of sharing it throughout the city, across kind of east and west, but predominantly council land. So we're quite confident that we'll be able to do it with the land we've got. But you're absolutely right, it's increasingly difficult in quite an urban area, which is Southampton. I promise you, we're not getting rid of any green. Well, there's no plans to get rid of any green space to build these homes. It is existing council land that was either housing beforehand or was some other purpose-built building that which we'll have to tear down and build up again, but no green space. Yes, we will continue to build homes. We have a massive housing shortage. We are in a housing crisis, which everyone accepts. This is a marker in the sand to show our commitment to building new council homes. So while we develop these, we're not going to stop at 2025. We plan to continue because, I've spoken to enough of you to know that actual council housing and having a tenure with the council is extremely important, which is why rather than just relying on the private sector or housing associations, we will build so we can build homes that local people actually need.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kaur. So any other questions? We've also got on the call, we've still got Claire Whitaker, our bid director for the City of Culture, and we've got Lisanne from Zoe Logic. So anyone want to ask any questions of anybody else who's spoken this evening? Okay, well, in that case, I think what we'll do then is going to move on to polling. Now, this is a new thing for me. I have to say I've had a tutorial from Lexa, but it may be difficult. So I promise that we will do our best to make it easy for everybody. So what's going to happen is 3 questions are going to come up on the screen. I'm looking at Lexa and hoping that this is going to happen. And we ask you, please, to click on your answer to the question. So and we're now going to see the results as you answer them. So the first question is, how would you rate the conference as a whole? So please click on very poor, poor, satisfactory, good, or very good. And then we will all see how you, the audience, feel the conference has gone this evening. This is obviously our very first time of doing this, so it's really important that we get some feedback from all of those of our residents who've joined us this evening. So I think there's a debate going on as to whether colleagues who are employed by the City Council should be voting. I think we're mostly interested in the views of our residents and our tenants. Okay, brilliant.
The results are on the screen.
Thank you, Lecture. I knew I was going to get this bit wrong. So brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. So it looks like people felt it was a good length of time. It was a good overall conference and a really shared out view of what people enjoyed this evening. In fact, everybody seemed to enjoy everything, which is really, really good to see. So on that basis, I'd just like to thank everybody for their involvement this evening. It's been great to have so many people join us. I'd just really like to say that some of the words that have really struck me this evening have been words like community, champions, support, cultural takeover. We need to tell the world what's happening here in Southampton. It feels like a really positive way to celebrate the communities that Southampton Council tenants are creating and the neighbourhoods that you are supporting. So I really do want to say thank you to the team who've put this on this evening. But most of all, I'd like to thank our tenants who make so much happen in our neighbourhoods, and particularly want to thank Ray, and I want to thank Vicky, and I want to thank Linda, who spoke at the conference this evening. So unless there's any final words from Councillor Call, I just want to check if there's anything else you wanted to add, Councillor Call.
No, I think you've covered everything, Mary. Just a massive thank you to the team. Digital has its challenges. I'm looking forward to the summer conference where we can all see each other, eat lovely food and hopefully hug each other after a very long time. But no, thank you to the team.
Thank you, Councillor Call. Yes, apologies that I didn't quite get the polling right. Knew that would be the one bit that I'd get wrong, but thank you very much everyone for your involvement. It's been a really great to see so much going on. So goodbye.